Alright, hello everybody, Friendly Red here, back for another Red's Radar. You know, I feel like the summer months are usually on the quieter side of things when it comes to new game releases, but this July is looking to turn my perception of that on its head, as we've got a ton of great new looking games releasing across all of the major platforms. From big name console exclusives, expansions and updates to already released games, remakes, remasters, early access departures, and more. This really is looking to be a great month of releases. But before we get into it all, the usual disclaimer. Please keep in mind that release dates are always subject to change, and what's presented in this video may be out of date by the time it is posted. Alrighty, let's get into talking about some sweet new games for the summer, shall we? Right after we begin the month of July, Rhythm Heaven Groove finally launches on the 2nd. While it realistically hasn't been all that long since this game was revealed last March, for modern day Nintendo standards, it does kind of feel a bit longer than how they've been handling the time from reveal to release for their games. Anyways, after over a decade since Rhythm Heaven Megamix, the series is finally back, and on a home console no less, as the last time that happened was back in 2012 on the Wii. So it's been quite some time since we've been graced with Rhythm Heaven on the big screen. In case you don't know, Rhythm Heaven is a series of rhythm games with very simplistic controls and an undeniably infectious charm, as you can hopefully already tell from the footage you're seeing here of Groove. Unlike most other rhythm games, Rhythm Heaven doesn't ask you to look and listen for following or scrolling notes to hit in time to the music. Instead, each game in the series contains dozens and dozens of different little rhythm minigames and scenarios, contextualizing the rhythm gameplay into those experiences, which are all very simple and easy to learn and control, as most of them only really require you to press a single button to play, with the occasional mix-up thrown into them to keep you on your toes. Now, I've adored the series ever since I was first introduced to it back on the Nintendo DS, and considering these games don't release very often or consistently at all, you'd best believe I'm stoked for this one. I never got to play too much of Fever back on the Wii, so this will be my first proper Rhythm Heaven experience on a home console, and as I mentioned back in my last video, I'm excited to see and hear this game within a home theater environment. And hey, this is going to be the first game in the series in full HD, so the charming and colorful visuals should really stand out more than ever before with this one, which is just another reason to be excited. Really, this is looking like the ultimate Rhythm Heaven experience, with over 80 new games to tackle on your own, plus over 30 co-op and competitive rhythm games you can play in a local multiplayer environment, and even a rhythm RPG adventure mode where you have to hit certain notes with certain timing to cast spells and fight off monsters. It's hard to know right now if we'll be entering another long Rhythm Heaven drought after Groove releases, but if that is the case, at least they'll be leaving us with, honestly, what might end up being the best and most well-rounded game in the series yet, which should help ease any potential long waits for future entries. And one last thing on this one, but Nintendo actually released a demo for the game during the writing of this video, so if this game looks or sounds even the slightest bit interesting based on what I've said and shown you here, I implore you to give it a try, even if you aren't usually interested in rhythm games. Rhythm Heaven Groove will be releasing on Thursday, July 2nd, exclusively for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. Despite there being quite a lot releasing between the start and end of the month, we actually have to jump to the end to get to the next two priority pickups, with the first one to discuss being Splatoon Raiders on the 23rd. The first ever spin-off in the Splatoon series, Splatoon Raiders shifts the focus away from the frantic 4v4 turf wars we've all grown accustomed to over the past decade, and instead focuses in on single-player, PvE combat, and exploration. Fret not though, as multiplayer does remain in some form for Raiders, as we do know that the game will support up to 4-player co-op, though details about this have yet to be fully disclosed, and most likely won't be until the dedicated Splatoon Raiders Direct that will occur on June 30th. And honestly, looking back at the trailers and footage we have, I've realized that we actually still don't have a lot of the finer details and info on this one, which makes sense I guess, as they've probably been holding a lot of that back for that aforementioned Direct that's happening. Based on what we have seen from this one though, it effectively looks like if you took Salmon Run from Splatoon 2 and 3 and expanded it out into its own huge mode or adventure, with some elements from the roguelite mode from Splatoon 3's Side Order expansion in there as well. Oh, and we also get to adventure alongside Deep Cut, the main idol group from Splatoon 3, which I'm actually quite happy about, as I feel like they kinda got pushed to the sidelines in their own game within Splatoon 3's story mode, so I'm glad they're getting some proper time to shine here in Raiders. I'm eager to both see and learn more about this one when that Direct airs, and of course, get my hands on it myself at the end of the month. Aside from Metroid Prime 4, Raiders here is the game I've been most excited about for the Switch 2 since it was revealed, and I am so happy that I'll finally get to play it here soon. Splatoon Raiders will be releasing on Thursday, July 23rd, exclusively for Nintendo Switch 2. As for that other end-of-the-month priority pickup, that would be none other than Halo Campaign Evolved. One of two big remakes of some all-time classics releasing this month, Halo Campaign Evolved takes the original 2001 Xbox launch title and revitalizes it for modern audiences and hardware. The list of changes and additions is quite vast for this one, but as a quick rundown of what to expect, this remake of the original Halo features all new graphics and cutscenes, powered by Unreal Engine 5, a re-recorded script, with lots of the original cast returning to their iconic roles, plenty of new weapons and gear from across the series, 4-player co-op support, changes to level layouts and structures, and probably the most notable addition, 3 brand new prequel missions to play through, focusing heavily on Sergeant Johnson and Master Chief. Oh, and there's also over 40 skulls to find and play around with in this one too, in addition to the fact that this remake will be available on PS5, which opens the gates to a whole new audience of players out there that have never gotten the chance to play this legendary game. So yeah, there's quite a lot to look forward to with this one, and as I've talked about both when this remake was revealed, and very recently, as part of my Summer Gaming Showcases video I just did, I am so unbelievably ready for this one. The entire Halo series is very near and dear to me, and it all started with this game back in 2001. While I still do adore and constantly revisit that original release, I won't ever say no to seeing a favorite of mine make a comeback in some way, whether it be with a remaster, remake, or some other incarnation or mix of the two. I cannot wait to get my hands on Campaign Evolved, as there's so much that I'm wanting to see and experience for myself. It's gonna be so cool to see how these levels, cutscenes, characters, and everything else that are so ingrained into my mind have been updated, refreshed, and altered. And even thinking about some of the smaller or more specific things, like utilizing weapons that straight up didn't exist yet in the series, playing through it all now with 3 of my friends instead of just 1, and hunting around for and testing out all the different skulls in the game. I mean, even just typing this all out here has me excited. I just know I'm gonna have a grand time with this one, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but I cannot wait to play it. Halo Campaign Evolved will be releasing on Tuesday, July 28th, for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Moving on to the honorable mentions, we've got to return back to the beginning of the month, as we've got a duo of releases occurring on the 9th. We'll start by talking about Granblue Fantasy Relink, Endless Ragnarok, the DLC expansion to one of my favorite games of 2024. After coming out of nowhere and being announced earlier this year, this expansion is almost upon us, and it's looking to offer up quite a healthy serving of new content and features into the base game of Relink. If you've played any of the more recent Monster Hunter games like World, Rise, and Wilds, you can kind of view this expansion for Relink like the expansions that were released for those games, or in the case of Wilds, the one that will be releasing next year. We've got new story missions being added in, 6 new playable characters, new bosses and co-op missions, and even a roguelike mode being added in as well, which both looks and sounds awesome for a game like this. And the only disappointing aspect of said mode is that it's going to be single player only, which is a shame because a co-op variant of it sounds like something I and my friends could lose a lot of time to playing together. Still, it's a great addition, as is everything else I mentioned, and it's just plain awesome to see this game get so much love and attention over 2 years on from its release. And with this expansion's release, the game is also now going to be on Switch too, with cross-platform multiplayer being thrown in as well. So I expect that the multiplayer scene will see quite a nice boost once it's released, and hopefully stay pretty steady in the months and years to come. Honestly, out of all of the honorable mentions, this is the one that is teetering ever so closely into priority pickup territory. The only thing that is somewhat holding me back on pulling the trigger upon release is that I wouldn't mind doing a replay of Relink ahead of the expansion's launch, but I'm unsure as of now if I'll be able to do that or finish it up in time if I start. This one will be out for PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. As for the other July 9th honorable mention, that's none other than Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. The other big remake of a classic game hitting the scene this month, Black Flag Resynced takes the beloved swashbuckling adventures of Edward Kenway, and much like Campaign Evolved, refreshes and refines that original game from 2013 with modern day visuals, gameplay adjustments, and most importantly, no more first-person corporate office walk simulator shenanigans in the mix this time. It's been what feels like a lifetime ago since I played AC4, so I don't really remember all too much specific about the game, but I can tell you that it was a game I thoroughly enjoyed. Though not really because it was an Assassin's Creed game, but rather, just a really, really good pirate game. Like, I'm sure I enjoyed the story and typical Assassin's Creed gameplay and combat enough, but when I think back on Black Flag, what I remember most fondly was just sailing around on my ship, listening to my crew sing sea shanties, getting into fights with other naval vessels, and occasionally exploring different islands and other points of interest on foot as well. So yeah, basically what everybody else liked about the game. Being able to re-experience all of that in addition to seeing all the changes, updates, and even new content being added in this remake, is exciting. But seeing as how I'm not really that big on Assassin's Creed, and there's another remake of a game I'm much more interested in just a bit later in the month, I think I'll be okay with waiting on this one. Also, Ubisoft games tend to go on sale pretty quickly after launch, so yeah, I'm fine with waiting a few more months or so to pick this one up during a less busy month of releases, and for hopefully a bit cheaper as well. This one will be out for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Moving on just one day from Endless Ragnarok and Resynced, Echoes of Aincrad launches on the 10th. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not nearly as into Sword Art Online as I was when the anime first debuted, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that this game didn't interest me to some degree, as it effectively looks to be the actual real-life game of the in-universe game that is Sword Art Online that Kirito and his allies found themselves stuck in. Kind of crazy that it took this long to attempt to recreate that experience here in the real world, but better late than never, and based on what I've seen of the game, as well as impressions I've read about the demo, it seems promising and fun, but not exactly $70 fun. Or, well, at least not for me. I will be keeping an eye on this one throughout the year though, and if it turns out good, and gets a decent discount later on, then I'll probably check it out for myself. This one will be out for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. And for our final honorable mention, we've got Rubinite. This is a gorgeous and quite bloody action boss rush game, which kind of surprised me. At first glance, I thought it would have been a more traditional take on a Souls-like or something, and while it definitely looks to have plenty of elements and inspirations from the genre, I suppose it may end up playing more like Theory, or something similar to that game. Given this one's extremely close proximity to both Splatoon Raiders and Campaign Evolved, I won't be giving it a go at its release, but it has for sure caught my eye, and it'll sit nicely on my wishlist for the time being, and I hope it turns out as well as it looks. This one will be out for PC. Also, before we move on to the conclusion, I wanted to quickly add here that two games I've talked about in prior Red's Radar videos that saw delays from their initial release dates will now be releasing this month instead, with Dench Attack releasing on the 15th, and Shift at Midnight targeting a release in the second half of the month. Not much else to add to or say about them compared to what I said before, but I figured I would give this brief little update or notice on them. Anyways, on to that conclusion. And that will conclude yet another one of my radar reportings. Quite a bit to look forward to based on everything on my radar, and there's some other notable releases and happenings happening this month, with the 1.0 launch of Palworld, the Switch 2 edition upgrade for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Speedrunners 2, and the Avatar Legends fighting game all releasing this month as well, in addition to plenty of other cool looking games that probably flew under my radar. There's always a few. A bit unfortunate that I have to wait until basically the very end of the month to get my two most anticipated games, but I suppose it does give me ample time to catch up on and finish up some more recent releases. Regardless of whether you'll be checking out any of these new games, or continuing on with previous titles, it's going to be a fun month, with plenty of choices available if you're looking to chill inside and beat the summer heat. But please do make sure to stay cool and hydrated for whenever you do have to brave the outdoors. But with all that being said, I think that'll do it for this video. If you made it to the end, I thank you for watching. Your continued viewership and support is greatly appreciated. I hope I was able to entertain, inform, and perhaps interest you in some upcoming games you may not have known about. And last, but certainly not least, as always, I'll see you next time.